Hi, we are Ana and Melina. This is our project of crime and punishment, and today we are going to talk about the case of the Puccio family. We are going to tell you who they were, what crimes they committed, and what happened to this family that also turned out to be a criminal gang. The Puccio were a family that used to live in San Isidro. They are nicknamed as the Clan Puccio, and they were serial criminals known for being guilty of committing several extortive kidnappings during the 80s. They used their own house as operational base and selected victims within their social environment. The clan used to seduce their victims. Most of them were friends or acquaintances from the neighborhood. Cordiality was the mortal lure. Archimedes was the father and the leader of the gang. He was seen permanently sweeping the sidewalk, and he is said to have done so to cover up the noises that came from the basement where they held their victims. People used to call them the broom nutcase men. The Puccios seemed to be a common family. None of their acquaintances suspected of them. Archimedes' accomplices were the retired Colonel Rodolfo Victoriano Franco, Guillermo Fernández Laborda, Gustavo Contempomi, Roberto Díaz, and their sons Daniel and Alejandro. According to a list of papers that the police found in the house, they had planned to kidnap about 10 people.
It is known that this group of criminals kidnapped 4 people. The first victim was Ricardo Manukian in July 1982. He was 23 and disappeared without a trace. Shortly thereafter, his family received a ransom request of $250,000, which they paid in hopes of recovering the young man alive. However, despite the payment, he was killed on July 30 of that same year from 3 shots to the head. The victim was a friend of Alejandro Puccio. It wasn't even a year before another similar event took place in the same environment. On the 5th May 1883, Eduardo Aulet, engineer and also a Cassie player, was kidnapped while he was driving to work. His family paid the ransom, this time $150,000. Aulet was killed and his body was found 4 years later. Peter Lanzani, the actor who played Alejandro Puccio in the film The Clown, told an unknown fact. The actor's father was a close friend of Eduardo Aulet, some of the victims of the Puccio clan, with whom he played rugby in La Salle Club. He also recounted that his father played rugby with Alejandro.
The third crime occurred in June 1984, and it was an unpremeditated murder. Businessman Emilio Naum stopped his vehicle when he saw Archimedes beckoning to him without suspecting they were trying to kidnap him. But Naum did not get caught, for upon realizing what was going on, he tried to resist and he was shot dead. During all this time, there were no leads linking the Puccios to the murders. Archimedes had been accused of kidnapping a bona fide businessman in 1973, but was dismissed for lack of evidence, and by the 80s, that antecedent seemed to have been forgotten. The last victim that was kidnapped was Enélida Bolini de Prado, and when the Puccios kidnapped this businesswoman, there were already suspicions of the dark plans of the family. This last victim was the only one that could survive. When the case became public, some neighbors remembered Archimedes as the broom nutcase man, and they still wonder if his sweeps at 3 a.m. were to make sure that people couldn't hear the screams for help of the victims that were hidden at the basement.
On the 23rd of August 1985, armed police stormed the Puccio's home. Bolini de Prado, the last victim, had been in captivity for more than a month. It was tied to the floor of the Puccio's fearsome basement. Police had suspicions about the family, but they knew nothing of the previous kidnappings. When the law enforcement arrived, Alejandro was with his girlfriend in the house. The clan with Archimedes were arrested when they were about to collect the ransom. As for the women, the mother, the daughters, and Alejandro's girlfriend, they refused to have any knowledge of everything, but the judge of the case, Maria Servini de Cubría, was struck by none of them being surprised or asked what had happened. According to the judge, the only one who could not be held accountable was the youngest daughter, Adriana, but the rest could not be unaware of it. According to the psychologist who cared for her, the girl knew what was going on, but it was not old enough to understand the fact. That is why she was considered innocent.
The day of the trial, Alejandro attempted suicide by jumping from the 5th floor of Tribunales. As for Archimedes, he never admitted having committed his crimes and always held himself a patriot and a political prisoner. In December 1985, Archimedes and his 2 sons were sentenced to life imprisonment plus ancillary for an undefined time. During his time in jail, Puccio converted to the evangelical religion and took the appropriate courses to receive himself as a lawyer. In April 2008, he benefited from parole thanks to a law by which the justice sentenced him 23 years and 8 months in prison. Archimedes Puccio was transferred to the Open Correctional Institute of General Pico La Pampa after being revoked the home prison he held in Buenos Aires for having violated the condition of it. Being there in General Pico, he obtained parole and continued to live in that city where he practiced as a lawyer. After enrolling there, he lived in the house of an evangelical pastor. And finally, the famous kidnapper died on the 4th of May 2013 in General Pico at the age of 83, from a stroke after separating from the partner with whom he lived. No one claimed his body, and he was buried in a mass grave. After spending more than 20 years in prison, Alejandro Puccio was granted parole in 2007. He died out of prison in 2008 at the age of 49 from an infection contracted in a hospital where he had been admitted from seizures.
Some extra information we can tell you is that film director Pablo Trapero made a film titled The Clan, based on the criminal acts of the Puccio family. The film, starring Guillermo Francella and Juan Pedro Lanzani, premiered on August 13, 2015 in Argentina and had been the highest grossing of the year in the country. In the film, there is a dramatic license. The son, Daniel, nicknamed Maguila, was not present at the beginning of the film, but in reality he participated in all the abductions. Also, a series was made in 2015 based on the events of the Puccio clan called Story of a Clan, broadcast by Telefe, with 11 episodes. In December 2018, it was aired the reruns on the Argentine public television channel.